Hey, hey you wanna fight? Today's video, it's not about fist fights, it's about fighting with words and winning that argument essay once and for all. Ow. Okay, my job today is to be your writing coach and to help you build the strength so that every academic argument you throw lands soundly and ultimately knocks out your opponent in the academic realm. Yo, I'm talking figuratively here. We're not actually strength training. Okay, so today I'm going to focus on argument writing, specifically what this would look like in an essay. Although a lot of the things I'm going to talk about, you could apply to any type of argument that you're giving, like a speech and debate class, or just trying to convince your parents, I don't know, to like extend your curfew time or something like that. But basically, I look to the words of Taylor Mawley here to get us started. He is an educator and a poet, and he reminds us that it is not enough to question authority. You have to speak with it too. In order to get that audience to listen, you need to have some specific things involved. So this is what we're going to talk about today, a chance for your arguments to actually be given weight in the minds and the hearts of the audience and ultimately win whatever debate you enter. So I want to start with a little exercise to see where you stand on a couple of issues. So I'm going to give you 3 topics, and I want you to respond for each one of them with just one sentence. So you'll write 3 sentences for me here, stating whether you agree or disagree with the thing that I'm going to propose to you, and give me one reason why. So as we go, you can hit pause after each one of them and write down your sentence, or you can just like listen to all 3 and then go back and write the 3 sentences. But you definitely will be hitting pause to take a minute and write one sentence as a response to whether you agree or disagree and a reason why. Okay, so first up. Oh, here we go. All right, first up. Should schools stop buying textbooks and instead spend their funds on electronic sources and educational tools? Certainly, this has been a thing in the educational world, iPads replacing textbooks. What do you think about that? You can hit pause now and write out your sentence, or we can go on to the next one whenever you're ready. Sentence number 2, I want you to answer this question. Should the sale of energy drinks, such as Monster and Red Bull, be prohibited to people under age 18? Like you'd have to show an ID at the convenience store to get the Monster. What do you think? And then number 3, should colleges stop using standardized tests such as the SAT and ACT as part of their admissions process? All right, now if we were in class together live with each other, we would pause for each one and talk about each one, but obviously it's YouTube, so I'm just going to do it the best I can. Hit pause, and then if you want, I would love it if you leave your sentences in the comment section below so other people can see how you structured your answer with your agreement or disagreement and your reason why. All right, I'm going to be quiet for just a second. You hit pause and then hit play when you're ready to come back with me. Okay, so now you have your 3 sentences in place, which is awesome. Hopefully you've shared them with all of us in the comments section, or you can just keep them on the side in your own notes. That's fine. You've done the hardest part of argument writing, and that is figuring out where you stand on an issue. Like for a lot of folks, they get, they're on the fence for a lot of these things. But once you've chosen which side you're on, that's great, because now you have a direction to focus your research. Now you have to prove that you are actually right and that your opponent has the wrong position, whoever believes the opposite of you. So how do you do that? Well, you need to make sure that you hit 4 things. And again, this would be in a speech, or more like precisely here today in an essay. So first up, you need to have a claim. And that's going to be your stance on the issue. It needs to be bold. You can't say, like, in some cases it would be this way, but in other cases I could see that that's the right one, because nobody wants to read that paper. That doesn't get us anywhere. So you need to make a bold stance. And I always tell my classes, it needs to be something that 2 reasonable people could have a healthy argument about. If you are just so out of left field with your stance that no reasonable person is going to give you the time of day, then you're just kooky or an extremist or that sort of thing. So whatever your claim is, it needs to be something that a reasonable person could have a debate with you about. And then teachers often call this the thesis. So there's a reason why you're writing this paper. What is the thesis? What is the point you're trying to prove? It should be bold and it should be arguable. All right, the next thing you need, reasons. You need solid main ideas, points to back up your claim. Like, why do you think the way you do? And these are sort of large areas. Like maybe you look to history. Maybe you have a personal experience that illuminates your position. Maybe you're looking at ethics or, religious doctrine. Maybe you're looking at the economics of the situation. All of the things that influence us to have the lens on the world that we do, those are the reasons why. After you've sort of figured out what those are, then we need the nuts and bolts, the concrete evidence that supports that claim. And that's where we get into researching and finding really reliable sources that hold a lot of ethos or credibility in the mind of the reader. I'm going to talk more maybe next week about tools of rhetoric, ethos, pathos, logos, those sorts of things that are going to help you sway your audience. But for now, just know that you need to cite reliable sources with credible information that support that claim. You want to explain to your reader how this data supports the claim. So it's oftentimes kids, they just scoop up data, statistics, facts, quotes, and they just like scoop it and splunk it into the middle of a body paragraph. But that's not enough. In order for it to be really persuasive, you have to have that evidence and then like connect that research with the claim using your voice of argument, right? So you are connecting the dots for the audience. You're not just leaving it there for us to figure out what it all means. You've found the meaning. You also need to acknowledge the counterclaim. Figure out what the other person on the opposite side of the fence would argue. So here I wrote, show that you're smart and you've actually thought about this issue by acknowledging the strongest point that your opposition would make. Make it for them and then immediately take them down. Like say, well, some people might reasonably be concerned about X, comma, they have forgotten all about why. And then you kind of get into it. So the counterclaim is important because you want to be seen as a reasonable person who has thought about all sides of the issue. Okay, so here is how the structure looks if you're doing it in a 5-paragraph essay. I want you to notice something here. I have the intro, which is the funnel in. And I guess we could talk about that another time. I have another video I'll link below that shows you how to build a funnel. And then we have the conclusion, which is the, starting narrow and then going broad out. And actually I have a video about conclusion paragraphs also. Yeah, I'll link those down below in the description bar if you want to look at the structures that work really well for that. I have that modeled out in earlier videos. These body paragraphs, you can have more than 3. I've just put 3 in here because that's what the 5-paragraph structure is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But notice how the body paragraphs are of different length. And that's okay because you might have more evidence in one of your points than in another. And so that's okay. So each one of these would be built on a different reason. 1, 2, 3 reasons why your claim is correct, and the claim would go right here in the intro paragraph. And each one of those reasons is supported with like really strong evidence. So I just wanted to show you what that 5-paragraph essay would look like in terms of structure. And then there's 2 ways for you to place your counterclaim. The counterclaim is just a really brief summary of the strongest argument that your opponent would come up with, and then you quickly squash it. So with your own rebuttal reason and your evidence. I'm talking very brief, you guys. Do not spend a whole paragraph arguing counterclaim. Then we start to agree with your opponent. Instead, I'm talking about a sentence, maybe half a sentence. If you get more than 2 sentences of counterclaim going, that is way too much. You are giving way too much time and attention to the opposition. It's just a nod that there is a reasonable argument that somebody else could make, but that argument is negated by all this other awesome stuff that you have going on. One approach is to save the counterclaim until you begin the 3rd body paragraph. And you can open that 3rd body paragraph with, while some legislators believe blah, 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 comma, actual evidence, proves that their attempts to like put forth that legislation are misguided. And then you get into like your evidence. So you could put it there at the start of the 3rd body paragraph, or if there's 2 points that a reasonable person would say, yeah, but you really need to address these 2 points, then you could stack one at the beginning of the body paragraph 1 and one at the beginning of body paragraph 2. And I've seen that work really effectively as well. Again, you're going to keep these counterclaim arguments really, really, really short, and then very quickly do the swing where you knock them down. All right, we're looking for something that follows this structure. That should give you a nice skeleton as you start to fill in and flesh out your argument essays. Obviously, here on YouTube, I cannot read and edit all the argument essays of the world, but I hope this gives you kind of the basic structure, making sure that you have those 4 things. You've got your claim, your reasons, your evidence, and acknowledging the counterclaim. Super important for successful argument writing. I actually have a whole packet of information if you want to go deeper into this subject. I'll put the link down below. But for now, I think that's a pretty good starting spot. We've laid a foundation. If you have to write an argument paper, you should have a good handle now on what your teacher's looking for. All right, that is it for me on this Freestyle Friday. I hope you guys are having had a great week and that you're going to do something fun this weekend. So definitely enjoy, get out into the world, do great things, and I'll see you guys on Monday for more mechanics, usage, and grammar practice. Another mugshot coming on Monday. Okay, I'll see you guys then. Bye.